right, guys, so today we're going to be looking at Units 2 and 3 study guide. So I want you to try number 1 and then come back, and then we will work it out together. Number 1, which expressions have the same product as 18 thousandths times 9 thousandths? So we could, let's see, A gives us that they just move the decimal one place to the right, and then to get 0.9, they move the decimal 2 places to the right. Well, what you do to one, you have to do the other. So that would not be an option. And then B gives us 18 thousandths times 9 thousandths. It's exactly what we just said. It's just the word form. B, 18 times 9, multiplying by 100th, and then again by 100th. So those are in the thousandths place, so that would not be an option. Now, same thing here, 18 times 9 divided by, so we could actually set that up as, split it in half, 18 thousandths and 9 thousandths, and then multiply them together. So it's the same thing, so D could be an option. E, 18 times 9 times 1,000th. Now, if they multiplied it again by 1,000th, that would work. But since they didn't, it is not an option. Moving on to number 2. Mr. Gupta buys sandwiches for his employees. Each sandwich costs $4.75. He pays $109.25 for all the sandwiches. How many sandwiches does he buy? So for this one, I want to take my total of $109.25, and I'm going to divide that by the price of one sandwich. And I'm actually going to work that out right up here. Now, I cannot have a decimal on the outside, so I've got to move it 2 places to the right. And what am I actually doing when I move it 2 places to the right? I'm actually multiplying by 100. What I do to the outside, got to do to the inside. So now, if I rewrite that, I would have 10,925 with my decimal at the end and 475 on the outside. Now, can 10 answer the door? No. Can 109 answer the door? No. Can 1,092 answer the door? Yes. 475 can go into 1,092 2 times. 2 times 475 gives me 950. Subtract 2 minus 0 is 2. 9 minus 5 is 4. And then 10 minus 9 is 1. Bring down the 5. 475 can go into 1,425 3 times. 3 times 475 gives me 1,425. I subtract and I get 0. Nothing else to bring down, so I am done. So I have a number, but I don't know what that means. So how many sandwiches does he buy? 23 sandwiches. All right, number 3. What is 3 3/5 divided by 3/10? So the first thing I need to do is change my mixed number into an improper fraction. So 5 times 3 plus 3 gives me 18 over 5. And then my 3 steps for dividing fractions are keep, change, flip. The other word for flip is reciprocal, so don't forget that. So I'm going to keep my first fraction of 18 over 5. I'm going to change division to multiplication, and then flip and find the reciprocal of 3/10, which is 10/3. Multiply straight across. 18 times 10 is 180. 5 times 3 is 15. And I can divide and get my answer, or I can simplify first. So 3 can go into 18 6 times, add a 0, and you get 60. And 3 can go into 15 5 times. And I know 60 divided by 5 is 12. So my answer is D. Moving on to number 4. Sheila makes stuffed peppers. The model shows the ratio relationship for the ingredients. What is the ratio of cups of rice to peppers? Choose all the correct answers. So I want to know the ratio of cups of rice to peppers. So first I need to count how many I have of each. So peppers, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cups of rice, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So rice, I have 7. Peppers, I have 5. So we have 7 to 5. And remember, you can write ratios 3 ways: with the word to, as a fraction, or with a colon. So on 8, it's flip-flop, so order matters, so A cannot be. B would be correct. C, it doesn't ask for the total. It's asking part to part. 5 to 7, remember, order matters. 7 to 5 would also be correct. So B and E are the correct answers. Moving on to number 5. Draw a line to match each ratio on the left with an equivalent ratio. For this one, you just need to simplify all the way down and see for all 8 of these numbers, or 11 of these numbers, to see what the unit rate or the most simplified version of these ratios are. So 2/8 would also equal 1/4. 1/6 is the same as 5/30, or 5 to 30. 10 to 2 is also 20 to 4. 16 to 4 equals 4 to 1. Moving on to number 6, Theo mows a lawn. After working for 1 3/5 of an hour, he has mowed 7/9 of the lawn. Can he mow the entire lawn in 2 hours if he continues to mow at the same rate? So I'm going to take the amount of hours and divide how much of the lawn he has already mowed. So 1 3/5, I'm going to go ahead and change that into an improper fraction. So 5 times 1 plus 3 gives me 8. Keep the same denominator. So I keep 8/5, divide that by 7/9. So I'm going to change, flip again. So I'm going to keep my first fraction the same, change division to multiplication, and flip my sign to find the reciprocal of 7/9, and that would be 9/7. Now, multiplying fractions, multiply straight across. 9 times 8, or 8 times 9, is 72. 5 times 7, 35. Divide, and you get 2 5/100. Now that can be written as a decimal, mixed number, simplify it, and you get 2 1/20. Any way you write it, you're still going to get that it is over 2 hours. So back to our question, can he mow the entire lawn in 2 hours if he continues to mow at the same rate? No, he cannot. Moving on to number 7, a company manufactures bolts. It ships 46,116 bolts in 36 containers that hold equal amounts. How many bolts are in each container? So in each, we want to know an equal amount in each. So we want to take our total and split it up into 36 containers. So to be able to do that, I am going to, just 1 second, maybe not. Oh, okay. So I'll write over the top. I'll move down here to where you can see it. So 46,116 bolts divided between 36 containers. So now all that's left to do is divide. So can 4 answer the door? No. Can 46 answer the door? Yes. 36 can go into 46 one time. 1 times 36, 36. Subtract, and you get 10. Bring down your 1. 36 can go into 101. Two times 36 gives me 72. 101 minus 72 gives me 29. Bringing down the 1. 36 can go into 291 8 times. 8 times 36 gives us 288. Subtract, so 88, 89, 90, 91, that gives us 3. Bring down the 6. 36 can go into 36 one time. 1 times 36, 36. subtract, and you get 0, nothing else to bring down, so you are done. So, how many bolts are in each container? 1,281 bolts per container. Moving on to number 8. Kendra and Dallas practice archery. Kendra hits the target 3 times for every 5 misses. Dallas hits the target 5 times for every 7 misses. Who hits the target more? So we're going to split this in half. Kendra's going to go over here, and Dallas is going to go over here. So Kendra, we know, hits the target 3 times with 5 misses. And then Dallas hits the target 5 times for every 7 misses. So we need to find a common denominator so that we can it's not comparing apples to oranges. So our common denominator, we're going to use 35. What do I do to 5 to get 35? Multiply by 7. When I do the bottom, do the top. 3 times 7, 21. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Keep our common denominator. What do I do to 7 to get 35? Multiply by 5. What do I do to the bottom? Got to do the top. 5 times 5 is 25. So now that I have that common denominator, so they have the same amount of misses, who hits the target more? So 21 or 25? 25 is greater. So Dallas hits the target more. Moving on to number 9. A store sends boxes of flower pots to a nursery. There are 192 flower pots in every 32 boxes shipped. Plot points on the graph to show how many flower pots there are for shipments of 3, 6, 12, 18, and 24 boxes. So, for this one, we're going to put flower pots on this side, and we're going to put boxes on this side. So, we know that there are 192 flower pots in every 32 boxes that are shipped. And I want to know for how many flower pots there are for shipments of 3, 6, 12, 18, and 24. But I can't easily go from 32 to 3. So I'm going to find out how many flower pots are in one box first. So what do I do to 32 to get 1? Divide by 32. What do I do to one side? Got to do the other. So 192 divided by 32 gives us 6. So for every one box, there are 6 flower pots. So I'm going to use that and go through the rest of them. So for 3 boxes, there would be 18. 6 boxes, there would be 36. 12 boxes, there would be 72. 18 boxes would have 108. And 24 boxes would have 144. Now we need to graph what we just found out. But you have to be very careful because boxes are your X value and number of flower pots are your Y value. So it's kind of flip-flop. So we're going to start out with 3. So we're only having to graph these 5 points. So 3, 18. So I'm going to start at the origin, go right 3, up 18. Plot my point, and I'm going to label it. Our second point would be 6 to 36. So I'm going to start at the origin, go right 6, up 36, plot my point, label it. Next point would be 12 to 72. So I'm going to start at the origin, go right 12, up 72, and then I'm going to label it. Fourth point would be 18 to 108. So I'm going to start at the origin, go right 18, up 108, and then I'm going to label it. And my last point, 24 to 144. So I'm going to start at the origin, go right 24, up 144, plot it, label it. Now, you should notice that all of these are in a straight line and pass through 0 every single time for ratios. Now, moving on to number 10. In the figure, each small cube has edges that are 1/8 of an inch long. Which expressions can be used to find the volume of the rectangular prism in cubic inches? Choose the correct answer. So, we want to know the volume of the entire rectangular prism. And we know that each edge length is 1/8. Well, I can automatically assume A is incorrect because that would be the volume of one singular cube within the entire prism. So A is not correct. B, if we took 4 by 3 by 3,
Logan Turner, you're needed in the car line.
and
Logan
each one of
Turner,
those
you're needed
equals
in the car
1/8,
line.
then B would be a correct answer. And then C would not be a correct answer because you're multiplying it by 1/8 instead of dividing it. And then 4 by 3 by 3 would just be the volume if we did not have fractional edge lengths. And E would also be a correct answer because you're taking 4 times 3 times 3 and then dividing each of those by 8 each time. Moving on to number 11. Larissa practices for a swimming tournament. She completes her first lap in 31 and 135 thousandths of a second. She completes her second lap 3 and 129 thousandths seconds faster than she completes her first lap. How many seconds does it take her to complete both? So for her first lap, we already know is 31 and 135 thousandths of a second. So that one's not changing. But her second lap is faster. So we've got to take her original amount and then subtract the amount that she went up. 5 minus 9 can't do it, so I go next door. 13 becomes 12, 5 becomes 15. 15 minus 9 is 6, and then 12 minus 12 is 0. 1 minus 3 can't do that, so I go next door. 3 becomes 2, 1 becomes 11. 11 minus 3, 8. 2 minus 0 is 2, so I get 28 and 6 thousandths. Now, I'm not done here because they want to know how many seconds it takes to complete both laps. So now I need to take that and add back in the time of her first lap. So 6 plus 5 is 11, so I keep my 1, carry my 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, 0 plus 1 is 1, 8 plus 1 is 9, 2 plus 3 is 5. So I get 59 and 141 thousandths seconds. Moving on to number 12. Which expression is equivalent to 7 and 6/10 divided by 19 and 18 hundredths? So this one has a lot to do with where your decimals are. Remember, what you do to one, you have to do to the other. And it's based on which one's on the outside. So 7 and 6/10. So the first one, they didn't change anything to 7 and 6/10. They just added a 0, which still doesn't change the value. But on this other one, they moved the decimal 2 places to the right. So that one would not be an option. 76 divided by 1,918. Now, they moved the decimal 1 place to the right. And here they moved it 2 places to the right. So that one is not an option. 760, so they moved the decimal 2 places to the right. What they do to one, they have to do to the other. So they moved it 1, 2 places to the right. That was an option. Let's check D. So on that one, they moved their decimal 3 times. And then 1,918, so they moved it 2 times. So the only one that matches is C. Remember, what you do to one, you have to do to the other. Moving on to number 13. Simon has 12 nights, maybe, 12 nights cups of muffin batter. His recipe calls for 1/3 of a cup of batter for each muffin. How many muffins can he make? So I'm going to take 12 nights, so that's the total amount that he has right now, and I'm going to divide that by the amount that the recipe calls for, which is 1/3. So again, I have to change flip. So I'm going to keep my first fraction the same, change division to multiplication, and find the flip to find the reciprocal of 1/3, which is 3/1. Multiply straight across. 12 times 3 is 36. 9 times 1 is 9. 36 divided by 9 is 4. So how many muffins can he make? he can make 4 muffins. Moving on to number 14, the graph shows the relationship between the number of hours Teresa spends knitting and the number of squares she can complete for a blanket. Based on the equivalent ratios shown in the graph, how many hours does it take her to knit 265 squares? So I'm going to go off of one of our points, our first one right here. So that point is at 3:15. So in 3 hours, she completes 15 squares. And I want to know how long it takes her to get to 265 squares. And so I know whenever I fill in this box, that's going to be my answer. Now I can't easily go from 15 to 265, so I've got to work my way down to work my way back up. So I'm going to work my way down to 5 squares. So what do I do to 15 to get 5? Divide by 3. What do I do to the bottom? Got to do the top. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I know in 1 hour she can make 5 squares. Now I've worked my way down, I can work my way back up. So what do I do to 5 to get 265? So I kind of have to work backwards there. So I could work out 265 divided by 5, and that tells me 53. So 5 times 53 is 265. What I do to the bottom? Got to do the top. 1 times 53 is 53. So how many hours does it take her to knit 265 squares? 53. Moving on to number 15. When Alexandria walks her dog, she travels 1,000 feet every 4 minutes. Today she walked her dog for more than 4 minutes. Which phrase correctly describes the number of feet she traveled? So on a number line, if we were to look at 1,000 feet, and that takes her 4 minutes. So maybe even a double number line. And we know that she walked her dog for more than 4 minutes. So I know that that number is going up. Now, which phrase correctly describes the number of feet she traveled? So if the minutes go up, we know our number's good. The farther she's going to travel. So 250 feet. Well, that's less than 1,000. We still need to be to the right of 1,000. So A is not a choice. Less than 1,000, just said it has to be greater than 1,000. Now C, we know that she travels more than 4 minutes, so that's still not greater than 1,000. So D would be the correct answer because that is greater than 1,000. Moving on to number 16, a hardware store sells toolboxes. The table shows the types of tools in each toolbox. Becca says that for every 14 tools in a toolbox, there are 2 hammers. Is she correct? Well, we have 2 plus 5 is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So there are 16 tools in the toolbox right now. And there are 2 hammers. Well, 2 to 16 isn't the same as 2 to 14. So, and we could even go as far to say 2 hammers for every 16 total. Is that equal to 2 hammers for 14 total tools? Well, what do I do to 2 to get 2? Multiply by 1. What do I do to the top? Got to do the bottom. 16 times 1. Does that give me 14? No. So our answer is no. There are 16 total, including hammers. Number 17. Tina's potpourri uses 15 drops of lavender oil for every 3 cups of rose petals. Jocks wants his potpourri to have a stronger lavender scent than Tina's potpourri. Which mixture should he use? So we know that we want to have more lavender. So A would give us 10 to 3. B would give us 12 to 3. C would give us 15 to 2. And D would give us 15 to 5. And we know Tina's potpourri is 15 to 3. So our correct answer would be C, because there is more lavender than rose petals. There is better ratio of lavender to rose petals. Moving on to number 18. Raymond buys 94 yards of ribbon. He makes bows that use 2 2/3 of a yard of ribbon each. How many complete bows can he make? So I'm going to take the total amount of ribbon and divide that by the amount that's used in each bow. So divided by 2 2/3, which would actually be 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8 over 3. So I am going to keep, change, flip. So keep 94, put it over 1 to make it a fraction, change division to multiplication, flip to find the reciprocal of 8/5, and we get 5/8. 94 times 5 gives me 470. 1 times 8 is 8. Divide, and we get 58.75. But how many complete bows can he make? 58. 75/100ths of a bow, or 3/4 of a bow, is not a complete bow. So 58 is your correct answer. Number 19, Rashid reads a total of 35 pages every 5 days. Based on this information, how many days will it take him to read a total of 84 pages? So I know 35 pages is equal to 5 days, and I want to know for 84 pages. Now, I can't easily go from 35 to 84, so I'm going to have to work my way down to work my way back up. So I'm going to work my way down. I want to see how many pages he can read in 1 day. So what do I do to 5 to get 1? Divide by 5. What do I do to the bottom? Got to do the top.
Corbin Spears, you're needed in the car line. Your ride is here. Corbin Spears, please report to the car line. Your ride is here.
35 divided by 5 is 7. Now that I've worked my way down, I can work my way back up. So what do I do to 7 to get 84? So I would actually do 84 divided by 7 and get 12. So I know 7 times 12 is 84. What I do to the bottom? Got to do the top. So 1 times 12 gives me 12 days. So how many days will it take him to read a total of 84 pages? 12 days. Moving on to number 20. Rayshawn is making sewing kits. Each kit gets 2 thimbles. The ratio of thimbles to spools of thread in each kit is 2 to 8. And the ratio of needles to thimbles is 4 to 2. Which statement below is always true? So, if we have thimbles to thread, so for every 2 thimbles, there are 8 spools of thread. We could also say 1 to 4 on that one. So thimbles to spools, we'll do it that way. And then ratio of needles to thimbles. So for every 2 to 1, so for every 2 needles, there is 1 thimble. So we could also say that the amount, so we have Rayshawn needs half as many needles as spools of thread. So here's our spools of thread, here's our needles. Well, that's true. 2 is half of 4. Rayshawn needs 4 fewer needles than spools of thread. 4 fewer needles, well, that's 2. Then spools of thread is 4. So that is not true. So our only correct answer is that he needs half as many needles as spools of thread. Moving on to number 21. A terrarium is a right rectangular prism that is 1 3/5 meters long, 2 1/3 of a meter wide, and 4.5 meters high. The terrarium is half full of soil. What is the volume of the soil in the terrarium in cubic meters? So if this whole thing is 4.5 meters, but I know the terrarium is half full of soil. So first thing I need to do is take 4.5, divide it by 2, or 1/2. So 4.5 is actually 9 over 2. Divide it by 2, so put that over 1. So then I'm going to keep, change, flip. 9 over 2 times 1/2. 9 times 1 is 9. 2 times 2 is 4. So that's going to change to 9/4, or 2 1/4, either way. So now I'm going to take 9/4 and multiply it by 1 3/5 and 2 1/3. So 1 3/5 becomes 8/5. 2 1/3 becomes 7/3. Right, so I'm going to take 9/4, multiply it by 8/5, and then multiply it by 7/3 because volume equals length times width times height. And it doesn't matter what order you put them in on this one because of the commutative property. So now 9 times 8 is 72. 72 times 7 gives us 504. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 3 is 60. So 504 divided by 60 would give us 8 4/10, or 8 2/5. So what is the volume of the soil in the terrarium in cubic meters? So 8 4/10, or 8 2/5 cubic meters. Either way you write it. Moving on to number 22. Ronaldo needs 3/4 of a cup of grape juice for 1 serving of fruit punch. How many servings of fruit punch can he make with 4.5 cups of grape juice? So we know 1 serving is equal to 3/4, and he only has 4.5. So I'm going to take 4.5. Let's go ahead and change that to an improper fraction, which would be 9/2. So let's just change that. And divide that by the amount of in each cup. So again, I'm going to keep change flip. Flip to find the reciprocal. 9 times 4 is 36. 2 times 3 is 6. So 36 divided by 6 gives us 6. So how many servings of fruit punch can he make with 4.5 cups of grape juice? 6 servings. Moving on to number 23. Fiona and Michael are chefs. They each make a similar sauce. The sauce contains tomato juice and lime juice. The table shows how much tomato juice and lime juice each chef uses. Whose sauce has the stronger lime juice flavor? Show your work. So Fiona tells us is 14 tomato to 4 lime. Michael is at 19 tomato to 5 lime.
Brooklyn Holman, please report to the front office.
Well, first we need to find a common denominator, so we're just going to use 20 as our common denominator. So what do I do to 4 to get 20? Multiply by 5. What I do the bottom, got to do the top.
Malaya Laws, please report to the front office.
14 times 5 gives us
dismissal.
70. Now I've got to do the same thing to the other side. Work my way up to 20. So what do I do to 5 to get 20? Multiply by 4. What I do to the bottom? Got to do the top. 19 times 4 gives us 76. So whose sauce has the stronger lime juice flavor? Would be Fiona. Number 24. To make spicy ketchup, Lewis needs 6 ounces of hot sauce for every 7 ounces of ketchup. To make spicy mustard, he needs 5 ounces of hot sauce for every 6 ounces of mustard. He has 150 ounces of hot sauce. Can he make more spicy ketchup or more spicy mustard? So we're comparing ketchup to mustard. So ketchup, we know, is 6 ounces of hot sauce to 7 ounces of ketchup. And mustard, we know, is 5 ounces of hot sauce to 6 ounces of mustard. Whoop. Right, so again, we've got to find a common denominator, or in this case, a common numerator, because we know we can only have 150 ounces of hot sauce. So what do I do to 6 to get 150? Well, I'm going to divide 150 divided by 6 gives us 25. What do I do to the top? Got to do the bottom. So 7 times 25 would give us 175 ounces of ketchup. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So what do I do to 5 to get 15 and add a 0? So that's going to be multiplied by 30. What do I do to the top? got it at the bottom. 6 times 30, well, 6 times 3 is 18. Add a 0, and I get 180 ounces of mustard. So, can he make more spicy ketchup or more spicy mustard? Spicy mustard, because 180 is greater than 175.